Hello and welcome to Climate Check with me, Mary Mwiikisa. Now, the big story that has been happening from the end of February up to now is a major environmental disaster that recently occurred on the Copperbelt. And of course, acid pollution from Sino-Metals Leach Zambia Limited contaminated the Mwambashi and Kafue rivers, resulting in environmental degradation and harm to aquatic life. Now, the incident occurred when the tailings storage dam wall collapsed, releasing the material into the surrounding environment, including the rivers. Thank you for joining us on the program. And of course, today I will be hosting various stakeholders that will look into this issue. As you know, Zambia is primarily a mining country. And of course, even as we do these activities, we must safeguard the environment at all costs. And so we'll be focusing on that today. I'll be joined in studio by Dr. Titus Hakonde, President, Zambia Institute of Environmental Health. And later on, I'll be speaking to Beauty Mbale from WWF Zambia, as we'll be focusing also on the impact of this contamination on the environment and our fresh water in Zambia. Now, we start off our program by bringing you this interview that I had with Dr. Kawe Mubanga, who is the National Coordinator for the Climate Compatible Growth Network, CCG Network in Zambia. And CCG Network recently held its 4th annual workshop where scholars, researchers, and like-minded people, including government, converged. And of course, the focus was on how Zambia can develop, but still ensuring that we do so on a low carbon emission strategy. And so this is what he had to say.
This was our 4th annual workshop for the Climate Compatible Growth Network in Zambia. And basically we were just trying to present the kind of works, the kind of research projects that we have done over the last year, and then see how we can project much of that to the next coming year. By that, we mean we were looking at the projects that relate to low emission for different projects, different developmental activities in Zambia. We do low emission projects in energy, in transport, in green growth strategies, and we support the government efforts, particularly when it comes to national adaptation plans as well as NDCs. So this was just one of those workshops where we wanted now to review what we have done and plan for the coming year so that we can continue supporting the government in such activities. The Climate Compatible Growth Program is a demand-driven program. So the activities we look into are things that the government are working in. Their priority areas are also our priority areas. For instance, when it comes to enhancing low emission transport, we try and research in areas that can help the government to develop developmental activities relating to the transport sector that will help to generate as low emissions as possible so that they can reach their NDC pledges. At the same time, the government has embarked on the green growth strategy. That is what they are using for practically every developmental activity they are doing. As CCG, we have also tried to help that by doing research that actually provides evidence for the government that they can actually use even to put into their policies. So every research activity we do is something that is demanded for by the government. So there is always a link between the two. CCG is actually a UK-funded project. So the FCDO have actually been our funders for this. And of course, there is a lot of collaboration because being a research-driven program, most of the partners are actually universities. Here it is hosted through the University of Zambia, Geographical Sciences, Environment and Planning Department. But our partners are University of Oxford, UCL in London, Cambridge University, and so many other universities. But also it is also implemented in some 5 or 6, because we are actually adding Malawi to the list. So it's being implemented in a number of countries. In Africa, we have Kenya, we also have Ghana, but Malawi is coming on board. But India is also one of those that are on board, Vietnam and Laos. So it's a network that is not only growing in Zambia, but is also growing internationally. As you probably are aware, the globe is moving towards reducing emissions and increasing the pressures on how much we can reduce in order to contribute to having a low emission future. So as CCG, we have tried to actually contribute to that, because most of our researchers help the government to reduce these particular emissions. As we were discussing here, we wanted now to understand what the stakeholders would want us to venture in. For a while, we've dealt a lot with energy, we've dealt with transport, we've also dealt with critical minerals and land use, but we wanted to find out if the stakeholders feels we can venture into other activities. Of course, a lot of things came up, because now we have to strengthen even areas that we have not been as strong in, such as gender and inclusivity. Yes. So in future, some of the activities and projects that we engage in, yes, will continue being low emission, but there will be a lot more inclusive in nature.
Welcome back to Climate Check. Let's now take you to the Copperbelt as we discuss the contamination of the Mwambashi and Kafue rivers as a result of environmental degradation from the mine. Joining me in studio now is Dr. Titus Hakonde, President, Zambia Institute of Environmental Health. Thank you so much for making time to be on Climate Check.
It's our pleasure.
All right. Let's first understand the Zambia Institute of Environmental Health. What is your core business?
All right. So the Zambia Institute of Environmental Health is a professional association body whose membership consists of environmental health practitioners that you'll be able to find in the Ministry of Health, where they work as EHTs and EHOs. Then we also have our members in the local authorities, where they work as health inspectors. We also have our members in the industries such as the mines, where you have the occupational health and safety officers. They also perform that role. So our membership is very broad because of the scope of work that we do as environmental health practitioners. Mostly we focus on the link between the environment and the health of the people. So the issue concerning the mining in the Copperbelt, the disaster that happened, is something that is very paramount, and it's core business for us. It is an issue that brings a lot of concern.
Let's hear the concerns.
Thank you so much. First of all, I will start with the information that is being disseminated. As a profession, we feel the information is not very comprehensive because the focus, mostly what we have been hearing, it's concerning the acid being released into the freshwater bodies and also in the environment. But on the professional basis, that information actually, we can even term it to be inadequate or inaccurate, because it is not just the acid that was released into the freshwater bodies, the Mwambashi River and the Kafue River. It is a mixture of things that are extremely detrimental, not just to the life of living things that we find in the water, but also to us, our health. And it is not just affecting us, the current generation, but in the hundreds of years to come, the impact of what happened is likely to be felt if no action is taken. So, just to extend the issue, it is not just the acid that was released, but what was released contains what we call the heavy metals as well, apart from the acid. These heavy metals are things that are produced together with the copper. For example, we have lead, which is very, very dangerous. I think Zambia is one of the countries that is rated highly to be one of the most polluted countries in the world with lead, the issue of Kabwe. So we have lead, we have copper, we have zinc, we have gold, we have arsenic. These are extremely dangerous elements if taken in high concentrations, because in science we call them that they are bioaccumulative, implying that if you take the small levels or small concentrations, your body does not have the capacity to completely eliminate them. So the longer period you continue taking these elements in your body, they will accumulate to reach a certain extent where you start seeing health implications such as liver damage. We also have other health implications such as damage to the brain. So you have children that will be able not to think properly or to solve problems properly because their brains are damaged because of these heavy metals. Other things are issues like cancers. And one of the most serious aspects that is associated with the heavy metals, it's the impact on the reproductive system. So you'll find that future generations, if we do not remediate this issue, they will have a problem. They will start having children that will have deformed bodies or deformed body organs. So if you look at this issue...
So this problem is bigger than we think.
It is extremely bigger than we think.
Yeah. How then can we assess the extent to which it will affect human life and the environment? But let's focus on human life for now. How can we ensure we carry out a comprehensive study or investigation to understand the extent?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Indeed, I agree with you. This problem is extremely big. And we feel even the media maybe has not gotten the correct information regarding the extent of the damage which our country has faced. And just before I even tackle your question, it is not just the issue of the Copperbelt. A number of items concerning how these mines are releasing the toxins in the environment or how they are managing their waste has come out. I think you have heard of the issue of Mumbwa.
Yes. Also,
we have the same issue. We saw the minister also taking to task another mine concerning the same issue. So the issue is very, very serious. So the focus, we don't know why, it was very much on the acid, forgetting the heavy metals. And apart from the heavy metals, there are also oils that are used. Okay. So that leach actually released some oils which do not sink in water. So they just cover the surface of the water, making the oxygen levels in the water to reduce, affecting life in the water as well. And the effluent that was released from the mine, mostly because it is heavy, it goes down and sinks on the bottom of these river bodies, implying that they will be there for a long period of time. Now, with respect to human health and what happened, is that in the short term, we call them acute effects. You'll find there are those health implications that we'll be able to see, like skin irritations, sometimes even death. But in the long term, it is the issue of the heavy metals that I've mentioned, which is bioaccumulation in the body. And we'll be able to see those effects even in the future generations. Now, it should not only be restricted to the water in the mine, but also we know that the environment was contaminated. So animals like cattle, which eat the grass that was contaminated, they will be able to get those heavy metals into their meat, into their milk, as well as the goats and the like.
And this will be sold for consumption.
Yes. So now if we eat those animals that have got those high levels, it means we'll also be indirectly exposed to the heavy metals.
Is there a solution?
A solution is there, and it's for us to act. First, as an institute, the Zambia Institute of Environmental Health and the environmental health practitioners countrywide and worldwide, we were expecting the health authorities to carry out tests on all members of the communities that are in the vicinity of the areas where this contamination happened, so that those tests will reveal to us to what extent the exposures were, so that those whose blood levels, for instance, have contain elevated levels of these heavy metals, they can be put on, they can start receiving medical attention, and also to continue monitoring them for a long period of time, because we have said that the health effects cannot be seen now, but they can also be seen in the future. And at the same time, we also expected the authorities not just to concentrate in Copperbelt because the water is flowing. Yes. It means that the contamination is also reaching other areas where the effluent was not released at. Mm-hmm. So we expect the authorities to monitor the whole stretch of the rivers to extend how much the contamination is. Okay. And we also expect the utility companies not just to reveal to us information about acid, which they are able to neutralize using lime. And we know lime cannot neutralize the heavy metals. We expect comprehensive reports so that the members of the public are aware of what is happening, so that they are also able to go and seek medical attention.
Welcome back to Climate Check. Earlier on, I was speaking to Dr. Titus Hakonde, president of the Zambia Institute of Environmental Health, just opening our eyes and giving us more information about the impact of the acid and heavy metals contamination that happened on the Copperbelt. And right now, I'm joined by Beauty Mbale, who is freshwater program lead at WWF Zambia, to just understand the impact of what it is that happened in the Copperbelt, especially on the freshwater system in Zambia. Beauty, thank you so much for making time. It's always a pleasure to host you on Climate Check.
Thanks so much for having me. It's always a pleasure being here.
Let's understand your thoughts about the recent water river contamination on the Copperbelt.
The first thing is it was massive. It was, I think, something that we didn't expect such size and proportion. Next, also for us is a worry because we, like you had initially mentioned, we are a mining economy.
Yes.
We do know and we are aware of government's ambitious plans. So currently, we have a recorded production of about 800 metric tons per year. We want to triple that to 3 million.
That means more mining.
That means more mining. And what has happened, so first of all, it was cyanometals, yes, which was massive. But then also we saw the subsequent mines that were being shut down, Rongxing, and then there's the other Chinese mine. It caused to mind the need, actually, for increased enforcement and regulations towards the mining processes in order to protect our citizens and our economy as well.
What is the impact of this contamination on biodiversity, rivers and aquatic life?
So firsthand, what we already began to see is, fish dying, and then the people that... Yes, it was.
Very painful sight.
Yes, and also... What you also saw was along the river banks, fields were scorched because the water had really just become very acidic. But then also there are these species that the food chain.
Yes.
It's indicative of the fact that for fish to have died, then you also have the food that the fish eats, and also the vegetation that is in the fresh water. Being prone to that. And so you look at aspects of just even the flora and the fauna that is found in these rivers being being damaged.
Have we experienced similar cases in the past? And is there a way of ensuring that working with the mines, we prevent these issues? Because as long as we're mining, these cases are bound to happen.
So from what we were hearing, and this is yet to be verified, that this was, I think there had been a serious contamination incident that happened sometime in the 70s. From there, this was the biggest. But then also we are alive to the issues that we've been having around Kawe of the lead mining and the subsequent effects about the blue baby syndrome, because when babies are born because of the lead, they are not born with enough oxygen and all of that. So it is such cases that really call to us to really just take note and be a bit more, I think far ahead in terms of, yes, we want to build our economy around mines, but do we want to do it at the stake of our citizenry?
What do you recommend be done in order to correct the situation on the Copperbelt?
So there were a number of, so WWF gave a press statement with key recommendations that we thought needed to be adhered to. First of all, that there has to be a comprehensive audit of all the tailing dams for all the mining entities, both on the Copperbelt and everywhere else. The next, what we saw, obviously, is the fact that I think the structural integrity of these tailing dams needs to really be taken here. So the department, the mine safety department, needs to really be on the ground. There has to be increased funding to these enforcement and regulation agencies such as ZEMA, WAMA, the Mine Safety Agency, because if we really are going to target that we produce 3 million tons, then we need to also ensure that we are progressive enough to put more money towards the enforcement. That needs to also be undertaken.
How long does it take for the lime to help, neutralize or clean up the water? And is the water safe?
So commendations actually need to be given, first of all, to the water utility company, because I think they already have a robust water quality monitoring.
Okay.
Also, I think the intergovernmental approach so you had a lot of all these stakeholders coming together to say, okay, so how can we provide this? So you had WAMA that was actually informing in terms of the speed at which this pollution plume was moving, where it was, and so that then a decision is made on which strategic points the liming should be done. So that the lime, by the time this pollution plume is moving, you've already put lime in the water that it would react. And the reason we put lime is because lime is alkaline. The water that was polluted had become acidic. We are told of recorded levels of a range of between 1 and 3. And so when you put lime, the acid reacts with the alkaline, and so it then neutralizes. So the idea was to neutralize it to levels of about 7, pH 7. And so ZEMA, WAMA were working tirelessly to actually provide that technical support, because I think it's the mining firm, the polluter, that was also doing the liming. So it's a first level approach towards ensuring that at least you get rid of the acidity in the water. There is also the issue of the heavy metals. I am aware, I think for Nkana Water, they also did an assessment, and so they started also ensuring that the heavy metals were also removed before they resumed production of the water. So basically all around there was the timeliness of reacting to this incident should be commended, but then also I think the focus needs to also be, this should never happen again.
It should never happen.
It should never have happened, but we should not allow it to happen again. So there's still also the issues of the fact that because the lime, will react, and it will make the heavy metals insoluble, and so they will drop to the surface of these river systems. And so there's also the need to carry out this sediment assessment. The aspects of soil acidity also needs to be looked at, because especially in the periphery areas where of the riverbanks, you would then also have these effects for our communities that grow their crops around these areas as well.
We have come to the end of this episode of Climate Check. Do make a date with me next week, same time on the same channel, as we continue to have conversations around environmental protection and climate action. I'm Mary Kasoka Mwiikisa. Thank you for watching. Do take care.